dug into and took to heart because this is a hard one for me. I'm going to admit it. Um, Negative thoughts love to creep into my mind, especially in the morning. And I want to start out my morning really, really positively. But I have to say, sometimes it's just, those fears, those worries, they just jump in to the beginning of your day. So, welcome to our YouTube audience. Again, my name is Carrie Donegan. I'm your host for Radical Age Reversal, where we learn the tools and we learn the methods to actually age in reverse. This is the most exciting part of science right now. It is absolutely backed evidentially and experientially, and we want you to have that experience. We are going through the book by Daniel Amen, 30% Happier in 30 Days. And today's chapters that we're going to focus on are chapter 6 and chapter 7. So if you missed the earlier episodes, you can go back and actually walk through the book with me and learn how to apply this to your own life. Each chapter is meant to be done in a day. So 30 chapters in 30 days. They're very short and they're easy to implement in your life at that moment. So I highly recommend this book, and you can see I've really gone through it a bunch of times. I've spilled some tea on it. This is a keeper for me, and I hope you're really going to find that the tools that he shares with us can be used in conjunction with some of the things that we're already incorporating, especially essential oils. And this is going to be a big part of what we're going to do today to actually control our negative thoughts. So, he says at the very beginning, which I think is really important to punctuate, which is if you focus on loss, you will feel grief. If you focus on gratitude, you will feel grateful. If you focus on those who love you, and remember, love is a verb. I always talk to people about this. Love is not a feeling. We have an unlimited capacity to love other people, to be charitable to them, to help them, to do the right thing, right? Nothing in our life is stopping us from smiling, from being pleasant, from being caring. Yes, maybe something is stopping you from donating $1 million if you don't have $1 million. That's not really what I'm talking about. Within each and every one of us, we have an unlimited capacity to be kind and to be charitable to others around us. It's not something that we have to make every day. It's always there. So I want you to keep that in mind. It is a gift that you will always have and you will never, ever lose. You may lose lots of other things in your life, but you never lose the capacity to bring happiness and joy and comfort and kindness and a smile and love is an action to other people. And everything we do in our life is a choice. So just also sit with that for a minute. If you are not feeling a certain way, how you choose to react to that feeling is within your control. So that's really, really exciting for me because it gives us power, right? It gives us a sense um, of security because we know that we're not waiting for something else to affect us so that we can feel better. You can actually feel better within your own choices. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. Just keep that in the forefront of your mind. If you focus on the times you felt joy, you will feel joyful. All right, so let's try that as an experiment. And right now, actually, I'm going to suggest that you incorporate an essential oil with that. So I have my essential oil case here. I'm just going to turn it around. And when I want to feel joyful, I go actually to one single oil and to one blend. And you may do something very similar. So I'm going to tell you that the single oil that I grab is a Lang Lang. So this is a very easy exercise. And what I want you to do is first conjure up in your mind a moment when you felt joyful. Okay, it could have been during a wonderful trip. It could have been the moment that you graduated or you received some type of honor. It could have been when your children was born. It could have been when you fell in love for the first time. It could have been just on a beautiful sunny spring day that you see the flowers. It could be in the smallest of things or the grandest of things. I want you to think of any moment, any moment. And here's what we're going to do. And this is a very easy exercise. You can actually even do this with flowers. You could do this with herbs, but oils to me are so easy because they're always at the ready. So doTERRA Lang Ylang is my single. I'm going to take a couple of drops, put it in my hand, inhale it, close my eyes, and imagine the moment. Imagine the moment when I felt a great sense of joy. And as you inhale your essential oil, what you're doing is you're imprinting that memory with your olfactory system. That is the system that is triggered when you inhale a scent, and the two start to actually connect. So that joyful feeling will be associated with the oil, and the oil will be associated with the joyful feeling. And I'm going to share with you a story of a dear friend who lost someone very close to them. And of course, it was a time of great sadness for her. And she was a user of essential oils. And one of the things she wanted to do was to bring diffusers into the funeral home for everyone who came to show their love and to grieve and to be united with her and her family. And her concern was that if that essential oil was something that she used all the time or she loved, that when she smelled the oil, it would bring back the grief memory. And so what I said to her was, let's pick an uplifting citrus that is not particularly a favorite of yours. Because the citrus in and of itself has no association for the people in the room. And right now it had no association for her. And if there was an imprint of sadness that was now associated with that oil, it wasn't something that she picked up all the time. And so she was not at risk of having that oil as a grief reminder, but it was also an oil that gave peace, joy, and a sense of calmness to the people in the room because of the way essential oils work in your brain. So one of the things I want you to do is, if you have a favorite oil, attach those favorite oils with this exercise to joyful, happy, loving, excited, peaceful, whatever good emotion you want to feel. Try to bring a bridge or a connection, like a magnet, between the oil and that experience. So I'm going to share with you the blend that I choose. Now, what's interesting about this blend is this blend comes in a lotion, it comes in a cream, it comes in a roll-on. There's lots of ways that you can get citrus bloom. Now, flowers are really important to me right now. I'm surrounding myself with flowers. I feel like they're a huge gift in my life at a time where I am very isolated, taking care of two elderly parents. I'm in this caregiver season of my life, which has, again, isolation is a big theme, but I find that I am actually surrounded by flowers. I'm noticing flowers more and more as they come into my life. They're a gift from God. And so Citrus Bloom has become a joyful blend for me. So the same thing, I'm going to drop a couple of drops of the Citrus Bloom into my hands. Oh my gosh, I love that. And what I was going to say is, I don't particularly love the lotion. I choose other doTERRA lotions and other scents, but this oil, the oil inhaled from the hands, the oil applied to my skin brings me a great sense of peace and of joy. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is my favorite joyful blend. Now, it may not be for you, and that's okay, but I want you to think of a couple of oils and start associating them, concretize these feelings, right? These joyful, and then memories, these moments of pure joy with those oils. And when you need them, you can, just like the oil, you can pull out the oil and you can pull out the memory, and you can actually shift, right? Because you're making a choice to shift the way you're feeling. Okay. So he says the first thing we're going to do is play the glad game. When it comes to being happy, it's critical to look for what makes you happy rather than continually seeking whatever makes you sad, anxious, or afraid. How many of us do that? We continually focus on the negative. And one of the reasons may be because we have a physical pain associated with it. For example, if you sprain your ankle, it's really hard to ignore the pain in your ankle. Your body is telling you to rest, to wrap, to apply essential oils, to take pain relieving supplements, to do whatever it takes to actually, deal with the issue, right? It's a good signal. It's saying, hello, pay attention to me. I need your help right now. But pain can also be something that drags us down, that says, oh, I wanted to do an activity. My daughter recently sprained her ankle. She couldn't go to a track meet, right? So she couldn't go to an event. She can't walk across campus. She couldn't go to her job. She needed to rest. That can also bring sadness, frustration, disappointment. So it's important for us in those moments to be able to play the glad game and to turn away from the pain and to actually cover it with joy, cover it with something glad and happy. So, no matter what situation or setback you find yourself in, this is what he's saying, no matter what, I urge you to ask yourself this question: what is there to be glad about? All right. So in that situation, I'm using my daughter as an example. I would say she could be glad about the fact that she had extra time to work on her final presentations because it's the last week of college, exams and preparing. She could be glad because her mother sent her a care package, and maybe I wouldn't have sent her a care package had her ankle not been twisted or tweaked. She had more time to relax, to sleep, to pray, to meditate, which is something that doesn't necessarily happen in the last week of school or the weeks before finals, right? So, is there something to be glad about? Yes. She said the weather was beautiful. You can focus on the weather being beautiful, being able to get outside and sit and perhaps rest. Okay. That's the method. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Number two, he says, give your mind a name. I love this. When I was in college and I would be crabby, I thought, you know what? I don't want to be that person. So I'm going to give that person a name. And I did not have split personality disorder or whatever you call it. So before you want to start diagnosing me in some, way, I actually was aware of myself. But I would say, I don't love that behavior, and that behavior belongs to Fiona. And so when I would get into those like really negative moods, I would just say, oh, Fiona, like go away. Like I don't want to be you. I want to be Carrie. I want to be happy and joyful and looking at things positively. So most of us live with a constant stream of intrusive internal thoughts and criticism from the past bouncing around in our brain. I know I have this all the time. Oh, I made a bad decision in the past, so now I'm the person who makes bad decisions. No, that's not true. You made a bad decision in the past, but that decision doesn't define you. That was a moment in time. It was perhaps a mistake, perhaps it was a learning opportunity, but it doesn't define you. And you can't allow it to bathe you in a constant interruption of your thoughts. You can train yourself to dismiss intrusive thoughts by giving your internal voice a name that you don't call yourself, so it's different from you. I named my brain Hermie after the pet raccoon I had as a kid. He had a pet raccoon. I love that. Hermie was a troublemaker, just like my mind. Even after all these years as a psychiatrist, Hermie can still cause trouble by saying things like, you're a failure, or you're an idiot. When this happens, I metaphorically put Hermie in a cage for a while. Years of research shows that distant self-talk can help someone gain psychological distance from intrusive thoughts, helping them better regulate their emotions or self-control and wisdom. People are better able to handle negative emotions in intense situations, even if they previously struggled to manage their feelings or behavior. All right. So let's give ourselves, I'm going to stick with Fiona because she's been with me for a really long time. It's funny that I did this without even understanding the psychological and scientific importance or validity of it. And I think that's because as human beings, we kind of intuitively know when things are healthy for us and when things are harmful. And so, for things to be healthy, I think it's really good for us to grab onto them. So, let's all take a moment and think of a name. Think of a name for our brain that speaks the not truth into ourselves and into our souls. I think for a lot of people who have a very strong relationship with God, they know that their conscience is God's voice, right? Those things that are true, those things that are meaningful. And this is not to, one of the things that Dr. Amen says in his book, and I think it's a different chapter, he says, this is not lying to yourself, right? So, for example, if you went and you robbed a bank and you took $10,000 from the bank, I think there was a movie about this actually, and you convinced yourself that there was a legitimate reason for you to steal someone else's money. That's not a well-formed conscience, because we know that throughout time, taking other people's property has negative effects, right? It has negative effects on the person and it has negative effects on you. It's one of the 10 commandments. I'm sure in other religions, stealing is also something that's forbidden. And even people who are atheists know that there are laws against stealing, right? So we have a pretty strong understanding that there's an objective truth there that stealing is a negative, right? And you can do that also. Someone said to me, gossip is stealing, right? Because you're stealing someone's reputation. So we have to be very mindful of our words and how our words affect other people and how our words affect ourselves. So speaking truth into our hearts and into our minds is really important. So when you hear a thought, I want you to examine it and to ask yourself, am I being labeled in my mind? Am I labeling myself as a thief? Am I labeling myself as an idiot? Am I labeling myself as a failure, right? Or did I fail? Did I do something that was stupid? Did I make a mistake? Did I make a wrong choice, right? So what you do is not who you are, both in the positive and the negative, right? So, for example, if you are someone who broke a sports record, right? Let's say you're a runner and you were the fastest runner in your school. That doesn't define you. It is part of your experience as a human being. Just as the person who was second or third or fourth, right? That doesn't define them. That was part of their experience. What they do with their experience creates their character. But even all of the things on your resume, that's not really who you are. Those are the things that you did, maybe because of the gifts that you have and how you implemented those gifts. So it's really important that we don't define ourselves by these concrete moments in life, both good and bad. So when you hear things in your voice, right, about yourself or other people, you have to actually hold the thought captive, right? Like you capture it. Don't just let it swim around, capture it. That's why Daniel Amen says he puts Hermie in a cage. All right. So if I wake up in the morning and I start having doubts about my abilities or about myself, or it's something that's not a truth, right? Let's use something benign like I'm stupid, right? No one should say that about themselves because it's just not true. People are a lot of things. So they can't just be defined by one adjective. So if I'm stupid is a thought that for me, Fiona is telling me, then I have to take Fiona and put her in a cage and tell her that she's not allowed to speak. Now, for me, I don't like cages because they have holes and I could still hear through them. So I am actually going to put her in a box. Okay. I'm going to take Fiona and I'm going to put her in a box and I'm going to tell her, I'm sorry, but I'm not listening to you. This is not the sound of God's voice. This is not the sound of goodness. This is not the sound of truth. This is the sound of something very destructive in my life and something that's stealing my happiness and stealing my joy. Did I do something stupid? That could be true. But am I stupid? That is not true, right? So then it's like, oh, we did something stupid. Doing something stupid is more productive now, the knowledge of that, than being someone stupid. Because if you are someone stupid and that's how you label yourself, that's hard to get out. Because how do you know that you're not stupid anymore and what caused that, right? But if you did something stupid and you learned from it and you rectified it, then you can move forward. And that's really empowering, really, really empowering. So, how are we going to use our essential oils for this? I like to use essential oils as erasers. Okay. So, I'm going to go to a roll on now and talk to you about how to erase the negative thought and to take that part of your brain that you've named, right? For me, it's Fiona, and you're going to erase. For me, it's Fiona forever, whoever you are, right? And this is going to erase her and then seal her in the box. Okay. So for me, if it's a single oil, it's always going to be Magnolia because Magnolia has high levels of linalool. And I just want to go to that super calming space. So if you look up linalool and what it can do, you'll be really, really amazed by its capacity to calm the mind. So into my brain comes that negative thought, and I'm going to do circle and over here, cross over the hemisphere, circle over here, right? So you're erasing. Some people do this, and I even like this, just like a kid with an eraser. I loved erasers as kids. As a kid, I loved when they came in different colors. I loved the feel of erasers. Sometimes they came in little animal shapes or shapes of food. I just think erasers are super, super cool. And I'm not collecting things anymore because I'm just trying to like minimize my life. But I think if I started to collect things, one cool thing might be to collect erasers. There's something really magical about an eraser. And so I also like the brainstem. And what's really cool about this is you're also activating your vagus nerve. That's going to be very calming. So don't be shy about this. You can just like pretty vigorously, not pressing hard, but kind of vigorously go over the back of your neck. You can also like erase your pulse points, right? Just erase all that negativity in your heart. Go ahead and rub it over your heart. Circle, 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 right? And just get those negative emotions out of your heart, out of your mind, and all this in you. And then you're going to seal them in a box. So what I do is actually just roll it through the air. I know this sounds corny, but I'm telling you, look, this guy's an MD. So take my corny application and his science and put them together. And I promise you that it's going to be something really positive. So just, maybe this is like glue and you're gluing that thought away, right? It's not true. You're erasing it. It is not true. And you're sealing with these essential oils that have the capacity, right? They have a biological effect on your body. They are something that your body knows what to do with and can put to use. They are bioavailable. This is really, really important to understand what is bioavailable. What can your body absorb and use in a positive way? Okay. And essential oils are one of those things. Now, let's talk about an oil that comes in a roll on that is a blend. So I'm going to grab for the Adaptiv. Now, Adaptiv is a line of anti-anxiety, antidepressant, essential oils, and supplements that comes in capsule, it comes in an oil, and it comes in a roll-on. And what I love about this is you can use this exactly the same way as I use the Magnolia. You're going to rub it on over the hemisphere. And remember, these are your negative thought erasers. So sorry, Fiona, you're going away. You're out of my heart. That negative thought is gone. It's out of my throat, right? I'm not going to speak it anymore because it's not truth. I'm not going to feel it anymore. I'm going to erase it from my vagus nerve. I'm not going to hear it anymore, right? I told you this is a really great point to put essential oils in front of your ears. Get it out of your mind and then go ahead, and you can actually do this by painting your palms. All right. And when you do this, and you can do this with no one around. So no one has to see you doing this kind of activity. If you feel that it's silly or weird or uncomfortable, or, go ahead and just create a box. Fiona, you and your negative voice and your non-speaking truth. going in that box and I'm going to lock it away. So good. This is so good. And before you say, I think this is crazy, 1 out of every 3 people are on some type of one, at least one mood altering prescription. Suicide rates are through the roof. People are feeling isolated, low, and as desperate as ever in the history of mankind. So if you don't think that we need tools to manage our emotions, to manage our negative thoughts, to feel happier, then you're not following the data. And we need to follow the data because it speaks truth. All right. It speaks truth. Now, to close, I want you to really take a look at day 7, focusing on behaviors you like. And I'm going to end with a story that's in this book that was really powerful when I read it. So he said, "What if I was to tell you that I had the power to change the way people treat you? No, really, you do. Here's how I know. One day, a 16-year-old patient stormed into my office, sat on the couch, and told me that she hated her mother and was running away from home. Her mother had untreated ADHD and tended to pick on Jessie as a way to stimulate her own brain. In the middle of the rant, she turned her anger on me. Tell me, Dr. Amen, why does a grown man collect penguins?" In my office at the time were hundreds of penguins, pens, dolls, puppets, etc. I laughed and said, "Let me tell you a story. A long time ago, when my son was 7, he was difficult for me. A way to work on our relationship, I took him to see a sea animal park. We had fun at the whale show and at the sea lion show. And at the end of the day, my son wanted to see the penguin show. The penguin's name was Fat Freddy. He was an amazing, chubby little penguin. He dove off a high diving board, bowled with his nose, counted with his flippers, and jumped through a hoop of fire. Then, towards the end of the show, the trainer asked Freddie to go get something, and Freddie went and bought an item right back. Wow, I thought to myself. I asked this kid to get something for me, and he wants to have a discussion for 20 minutes, and then he doesn't want to do it. I knew my son was smarter than the penguin. So after the show, I went up to the trainer and I asked her how she got Freddie to do all those really cool things. The trainer looked at my son and then at me and said, unlike parents, whenever Freddie does something I want him to do, I notice him. I give him a hug and I give him a fish. Even though my son didn't like the whole raw fish, a light turned on in my head. Whenever my son did things that I liked, I paid no attention to him at all because, like my own father, I was a busy guy. But when he didn't do what I wanted him to do, I gave him a ton of attention because I didn't want to raise a bad child. I was inadvertently teaching him to act badly in order to get my attention. So now I collect penguins as a way of reminding myself to notice the good things about the people in my life and a lot more than the bad things. As I finished telling the story, I got a crazy idea. What if my patient could shape her mother's behavior the same way the trainer shaped Freddie by ignoring negative interactions and rewarding the positive ones? I know this will be hard, I told her, but whatever your mother starts in on you, don't challenge her or get emotional. Then, whenever she's nice to you, listens to you, or more appropriate with you, tell her how much you love her and appreciate her. Jessie was skeptical, but agreed to give it a try. That night, I got a text from her saying that she decided not to run away from home. A week later, she said our plan was working. 2 weeks after that, when I saw her again, she said things were much better at home, and she brought me a penguin to add to my collection. You have the power to make your relationship with your loved ones better or worse. Why not opt for the happier, less stressful route? And I'll leave you with that and see you next week.